So the first acronym is reset, and I encourage you to take some notes. And I'm just going to kind of go light on each of these. And then my hopes in doing so is that you build it out yourself because you know so much. The only thing I ever repeat really in these lives are the core fundamentals, right? There's certain things that your mind, based on psychology and neuroscience, that are just the pillars, right? So let's go through this, and I give you different acronyms because it gives you just a different layer or perspective on the core techniques, science-based things that will help elevate your learning in your life. All right, let's go. The acronym is reset. So there are five letters in reset. The R, and this is reset to the goal of this acronym is to reframe, which we could talk about what reframing is, and rebuilding your motivation. So it's more sustainable. And here we go. The R is reframe. And let's say you want to reframe disappointment. Okay. So this is where you're turning frustration into a growth opportunity, and that's having that growth mindset. You're very familiar with the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. This is what makes everything really possible, that your beliefs, your assumptions, your attitudes are not set like your shoe size. It could grow because of neuroplasticity and making new connections. So how can you do that? How can you turn a current situation that might be frustrating into a growth opportunity? Um, I my primary place to go is always a new set of questions. Because as you know, questions are the answer. When you ask a new question that you've never asked, you get an answer and a point of view that you maybe haven't experienced before. So one of my favorite questions I got from Tony Robbins, I was just speaking at his mastermind a couple weeks ago in Arizona. Let's say you're frustrated because it's taking longer than you think. You're reading faster or starting that business or a relationship, there's some kind of delay. The question you could ask very simply is like, what if this delay is happening for me, not to me? Right. People are upset with problems because they feel like they're pervasive. Like think about a problem you have in your life. If you get into a static place where you can't fight your way out of that paper bag, I would say that one of the beliefs is that this problem is pervasive. It's like because you have this problem, it's affecting every area of your life. Or there's this false lie, limited idea entertained that this is maybe personal. And it could feel personal, certainly when when somebody is doing something to us. And it's permanent, right? Those are the three P's that people get into a depressed state because they think that that challenge is pervasive. It's permeating throughout their life. They feel like it's personal, only to them, or they feel like it's permanent. And so one of the hierarchy questions I like to ask is, what if this is happening for me and not to me? Now, I really want to challenge you because I feel like there's a reason why people do challenges like a cold shower challenge or a fasting challenge. So I'll give you like something that I'm thinking about in terms of, let's see, reframing disappointment. Often our biggest setbacks can lead to significant breakthroughs. And some of the questions actually were on this. How many of you found that sometimes you have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough? When you're faced with disappointment, I ask myself, what if this delay is happening for me, not to me? There's this burnt toast, they call it the burnt toast theory, that you're rushing to go to work or whatever, and you're making some breakfast, maybe you're making toast, and it burns, and you're like, oh shoot, this is happening, and you have to make more toast. But maybe that happened for you because the idea behind burnt toast theory is that if you would have gone out, there could have been an accident. There's something that could happen and it protected you. So it's happening for you, as an example. And it just gives you a perspective that could transform frustration into a growth opportunity, helping you see the hidden positives in apparent negatives. All right. The E in reset, I'm going to make it eliminate. 2025 for me is really about elimination. It's about you're doing this, you're making this statue, and Michelangelo could see the statue inside the stone or the granite, and it's just chopping away until they have this beautiful work of art. The mantra I have on my wall is simplify to amplify. And so for a reset, how can you identify distractions and let them go? I feel one of the reasons, this might be a bold statement, one of the reasons why we're stuck is in order to get unstuck, is you have to stop feeding the life you don't want. I don't know if that lands for anybody. I didn't get that in a fortune cookie, but I was meditating on this because I journal every day. And I was just like, why are we stuck or why are we dissatisfied? And I feel like we're feeding through our time, our energy, our resources, our focus, the life we don't want. And so E and reset is eliminate. So you can eliminate, for example, mental clutter. How do you identify distractions and let them go? And a tool for this would be something like I just mentioned, journaling, a brain dump. Or, I just posted on social media, some of you saw it, that a research study came out that if you're just off your phone for 3 days, it could do this whole, amazing reset for that particular addiction, right? So a brain dump where you take it and you write it and it's outside of you is the first stage of manipulating anything, because you've taken something invisible and you made it visible. And when it's visible, you could manipulate it. You could change it. You have more control and influence with it. So eliminating mental clutter, and it's obvious again, but are we doing it? And I feel like, I repeat myself intentionally because that's how we review and rehearse. Jim Rohn said, repetition is the mother of skill. So to achieve mental clarity, to engage you can engage in a brain dump, some kind of exercise there, or a digital detox. And what do? I write down all my current worries, everything that I'm ruminating about, anything that's distracting me that's not important. And then I systematically do my best to be able to release, surrender, let it go. I'm not saying that's necessarily easy, and there's many techniques you could use. My go-to has always been tapping, but EMDR. I just went on Amazon. I got this. Some of you are familiar with EMDR, which is where your eyes are moving back and forth rhythmically, and it kind of breaks the pattern and allows you to be able to be more receptive to changing those thoughts or those worries or something. But there are processes. Self-hypnosis is another go-to for me. But this process clears your mind, making space for new, more positive or productive thoughts. So that's the, and I'll take questions, at the end for this if there's anything that you want more detail on. Are you a high achiever constantly seeking that next level of success? Welcome to the Kwik Success program. It's a deep dive and support system to master your life and scale to new heights in personal and professional achievement. Included is our exclusive monthly book club, where we process transformative ideas from amazing books to level up your learning and your life. We also bring the author to the club to answer your burning questions. You can also participate in monthly live coaching calls with me, where your questions meet my decades of expertise. Simply go to kwiksuccess.com, that's Kwik success.com, and choose the plan that works best for you. The S in reset, and think about what you would make it. I make acronyms because it forces me to think like, oh, what could that be? And that inquiry process helps me remember learning is not just about consuming, it's about pulling information out, right? So the S I'm going to say is strengthen. And specifically for the reset, a lot of people in the community are asking about, increasing their drive. So how do you strengthen your inner drive? How do you reignite your motivation? And many of you know the formula for sustained motivation that we talk about in Limitless, which is purpose times energy times small, simple steps. That purpose part is really, I put it there first because it doesn't have to be your life purpose, but I feel like that's what helps us get through difficult times and delays is having a clear, compelling purpose. And that includes not only your mission, why you do what you do, but a vision that's aspiring. Because I feel like being pulled towards something is 1,000 times better than being having to push yourself to that thing, if that makes sense. So the strategy here for purpose is find a new why, and after that, then you could create the plan. But I always like Simon Sinek talks about start with why, because that could help strengthen your overall drive. Invariably, you're starting a business, you're studying something new, you're pursuing a relationship, whatever it is, there are going to be stumbles and struggles. But that's how you develop grit is having purpose. You could, for me, external changes can sap my motivation. And so, how do you reignite your drive? You find a new why, you find a deeper purpose, and you develop a new plan that aligns with this renewed purpose, where you're focusing on what truly is pulling you and moving you forward. And I just want to remind you the important part here is it doesn't stay in your head. Allow yourself, prime yourself. So, for those of you familiar with priming, emotional priming, to feel it. Because if we don't feel it, I don't feel like it's sustainable. Even the conversation I had with Isabel and Laura Hoff, it was about how you take control of your body to control more of your brain. It's hard sometimes to think your way out of depression or to think your way out of a situation. But if you change your state, as all learning in life is state dependent, then it opens up those reserves and those areas of our mind where we hold more possibility, problem solving, executive function, and so on. So strengthening your inner drive would be S. The E is, let's say, engage. And there are a lot of things you can engage with. If you want to do a reset, you can't just passively just not do anything. I would engage in the power of reflection. And that's why I journal primarily. You learn from the past so you don't stay stuck in it. Let me say it again. You learn from the past because it informs your current actions. And so a question, if questions are the answer, a questions that we could ask ourselves is, what's what's one win I had in the past 30 days? Something simple like that. And you're reflecting on your wins or what you had learned or something that really, when you're spending time reflecting on your recent experiences and you ask yourself, what win did I have in the past 30 days? This practice helps you recognize your progress and learn from the past without dwelling on it. With our team, I talk about three V's for momentum. And this works for not just an organization, but it works for individuals. You need a vision, right? We talked about that. And there's Proverbs that says, without a vision, people perish. You need a compelling vision. And for me, I build it out. I try to step into it as if it's happened. I see it, I feel it. If there are smells or tastes, I really stack a lot of those sensory systems. And then the second V, our values. I feel like what helps guide momentum is the values of, which is really your purpose, a big part. Is it love? Is it growth? Is it contribution? Is it a sense of adventure or safety? What's driving you to do what you do? So you're living on purpose. And can be extremely, extremely powerful. And then the last V after your vision and values is velocity. And I chose velocity because it starts with a V, honestly. But nothing helps encourage you than progress. But some people are making progress but they're not acknowledging it or they're not aware of it. So they don't get that velocity or the reinforcement, if that makes sense. And then finally, and there's many things you could do, for strengthening that. And then the last T in reset is always taking action, right? Just a quick reminder that small, consistent steps is how you build momentum. If you've heard these sayings, if you're persistent, you can achieve it, but if you're consistent, you get to keep it. And that's my hope for all of you is that when you're reading 3 times faster, or you get to a level of energy, or getting better sleep, whatever it is, that you're consistent, so you get to keep those better results that you desire and that you really deserve. The purpose of learning anything is to act on it. Um, because somebody who could read a book, even as well as we teach people how to read books with the speed and comprehension and retention, if they don't act on it, their life is no better than somebody who's illiterate. So my challenge for everybody in the area of taking action is commit to achievable, remember P times E times S3, small micro wins. These are the small, simple steps that are manageable actions that steadily build your momentum. All right, that's a great reset, whether it's completing a task that you've been postponing or taking a small step towards a larger goal. These wins compound over time, right? Consistency compounds. Little by little becomes a lot.